Welcome to the Travel Plus Loyalty Podcast. We are again ready with our Monday morning update. We'll start our news update with the news from Priority Pass, Qatar Airways CEO that talks about British Airways and countries that will do a lot to attract tourists this year. Lastly, we can now say that the newest hotel in Copenhagen Airport, the Comfort Hotel Copenhagen Airport, will open up in less than 4 weeks at May 6th. We look forward to see it opening, and we already have a reservation there.
We had our last flight on the 31st of March 2020. And on this flight, we also said goodbye to our general manager, which is a Thai national, and his family. They went back to Bangkok. And then for the next 3.5 months, we didn't see a Thai Airways plane in Copenhagen.
What you heard here was Ulrik Gylstorff from Thai Airways. He's the district sales manager, and we will have a talk about how the last year have been in the Nordics working for Thai Airways and how we have been working with an airline that is in the middle of an enormous reconstruction. Ulrik will also share his thoughts on how 2021 will look like. But before that, let's go to the news update. Plaza Premium Lounges drops Priority Pass. Priority Pass cards will no longer be accepted at the majority of Plaza Premium airport lounges globally as of 1st of July. Priority Pass did communicate that they already have alternative lounges in operation for many of the locations, and for the remainder they are working sourcing new partners. Qatar Airways CEO calls British Airways a 2 out of 10 low-cost carrier. Qatar Airways CEO Akbar Al Baker is one of the most outspoken and direct CEO in the airline industry. He was interviewed for this weekend's edition of the Sunday Times, and there was a part of that interview that was focused on British Airways being a 2 out of 10 low-cost carrier. With British Airways now having a new CEO, Al Baker hopes that the airline will get its glitter back, and he states that the new CEO is a very good leader and British Airways can come back to the glory days. However, they will not be the world's favorite airlines because that title belongs to Qatar Airways. Malta will pay you money to visit them, and the Maldives will give you free vaccine. Many countries are in need to get tourist industry up and running again. So we see many interesting offers and deals to get you to travel to exactly that country. With an economy that relies heavily on tourism, Malta is obviously extremely keen to see travel return. So much so, in fact, that the government there is launching a scheme to effectively pay people to come and visit once it reopens in June. Founded by the government and by the hotels themselves, tourists who book to the hotels directly and not via a package deal will receive €200 in rebate when they book a 5-star hotel, or €150 in rebate if they book a 4-star hotel. The Maldives plans to vaccinate visitors upon arrival in an effort to boost tourism. The country's tourist minister said that the initiative will start as soon as all residents were inoculated. It is a part of their 3V program, which stands for Visit, Vaccinate and Vacation. It is an effort to draw travelers back and help the nation meet its goal of seeing 1.5 million tourist arrivals this year. The program is set to start during the summer. Closer to Denmark, we also see the Faroe Islands currently are giving away 1,000 free plane or ferry tickets to come visit them, but only to those who are vaccinated and come from Denmark. Lastly, we now have confirmed that the Comfort Hotel Copenhagen Airport is going to open up at May 6th, in under 4 weeks from now. Jesper Olsen, who is the cluster general manager for both Clarion and Comfort Hotel Copenhagen Airport, has confirmed this to Travel Plus Loyalty. Now it's time for this morning deep dive history, where we talk to Ulrik Gylstorff from Thai Airways. Let's go over to Clarion Hotel Copenhagen Airport, where we meet with Ulrik, and Alan Humphrey will lead the interview.
Welcome to today's podcast. We have invited Ulrik Gylstorff to talk a little bit about the greatest crisis in the airline history that we are currently experiencing. Ulrik, can you tell a little bit about yourself and how all of this has impacted Thai Airways?
Yes, thank you, Alan, and thank you for the invitation. As mentioned, my name is Ulrik Gylstorff from Thai Airways in Denmark. I am district sales manager with the responsibility for Denmark, Iceland, Latvia, and Lithuania. I joined Thai in June 2017 and was appointed sales manager in March 2019. My background is also mainly in airline business. I've been a few years with Lufthansa Group, before that SAS, and started off in the travel management company business in my youth. But if we should look at the crisis we're in, which is the topic today, well, as all other airlines in the world, this crisis has hit Thai Airways much harder than anything else in the past. It cannot be compared with any financial crisis, any SARS or anything else. This is the worst we have seen. And for our part, it started already back in January 2020 with the outbreak in Wuhan, well, when it became known to the rest of the world at least. As you probably know, China and the Chinese people were the biggest tourists in Thailand. And from one day to the other, this stopped completely. So it had a huge effect, not only on Thai Airways, but also for Thailand. And from that point, it just got worse. Here in Denmark, from Copenhagen to Bangkok, and then for the next 3.5 months, we didn't see a Thai Airways plane in Copenhagen. So in that period, no flights at all, and we had a little under 30 staff, local staff in Copenhagen. In mid-July, we started to have one weekly cargo flight, which eventually also carried passengers, but that were mainly Thai nationals who were taken back home on repatriation flights. Today, we still only operate one weekly flight. Luckily, with the almost brand new Airbus 350, and this will continue until the 1st of July, where we will increase to 3 weekly flights until the end of 2020. After that, we don't know yet. Hopefully we will be able to increase further, but that is up to coronavirus. It's up to the development within Thai also, but we hope to be able to increase even more at that point. If we should look at what this crisis has meant for me, and not at least my colleagues, then it has been very difficult. It's actually difficult to explain, because when it started out, we were like, okay, we are going to be sent home, maybe for a few months, and then we will see each other again. But that was not what happened. We sent home almost all our colleagues on paid home leave, thanks to the salary compensation scheme which the government implemented, and only had a handful of colleagues left to take care of our reservations, because, of course, we had a lot of people booked on our flights during the spring, during the summer, and we needed to take care of that. So we had colleagues in our reservations, we had colleagues in our accounting, we still had an office running, there were still bills coming in, and then we also had our cargo department running, because with one weekly flight, mainly carrying cargo, we needed them also. My own role was not so much sales anymore. It was more coordination with head office in Bangkok, trying to maneuver in all these different kind of compensation schemes, making work plans for the colleagues, and also try to keep up a good spirit in the team. So from being a sales manager, and actually still a rather new sales manager in Thai Airways, I went more to be like an HR or administration manager at the point, and still is this today.
Yeah.
So most of our colleagues are still with us, actually, but they are still on reduced time, or even at 100% home leave at the moment. So, and I predict it will continue this way for at least the rest of the year. We're still waiting for news from Bangkok, and to see how the organization will look like in the future. And this is expected to be released within the next few months. So that will also be excited, and hopefully we will see Thai Airways in Copenhagen more or less in the same way as we're used to.
How do you see Thai's reintroduction of scheduled flights into Thailand? We hear a lot from the tourist authorities about, now we can do this, now you can do that. It must be pretty difficult to navigate when all people are asking, when are you opening? And here you are telling us about the plans of 3 flights for the rest of the year, as it is right now.
Yeah.
Of course, things can change, but how do you vision all of this, and how do you experience all of that?
Well, as you mentioned, there are a lot of different things coming also in the media from Thailand, all kind of suggestions on how to reopen the country to tourism. But a lot of these suggestions and proposals are not approved by the government. And we are getting very little information, actually, from our own head office on what is going on. So we try not to act on all the rumors or all the proposals we read about in the media, because we have seen that very little of them are actually being approved. But of course, it do create a lot of questions, also from our passengers who luckily anticipate to go back to Thailand and just wait for the restrictions to soften. But having said that, then we also see that the demand right now is very slow and very little. So it's not that we are getting a lot of calls on this, not from passengers and also not from our trade partners. The restrictions applied here from the Danish government also put a natural stop on the demand. But of course, we hope that it will be better, and also hopefully very soon. And hopefully it will help us when we get more capacity and so on.
How do you see yourself re-entering the market? When we're saying you have been basically out of the market, you have not seen agents. I know that you have been in contact with your agents and your corporate accounts, etc. But how do you think the restart is going to be of this one? It's going starting again from scratch. This is basically going back to the time when Thai started operating out of Copenhagen. So how do you envision that will take place?
Well, yeah, it will be almost starting from scratch. Because not only have we not been flying for a long time, but there's also many of the products that we had in the market which are no longer there, and also cooperations with trade partners which needs to be established again. So it will be starting over, more or less. But luckily, what we see and what we hear is that Thailand is still a very popular destination for the Danish travelers. I think it's by far the most Googled destination, and also in all the search engines. Thailand and Bangkok is on top. So in that regard, I think we are in a good position. And as you mentioned, our partners, we have kept a good dialogue throughout the last year. And they have shown a really good and strong commitment and willingness to work with us, luckily, and I'm very happy about this, because we need them when things start to change. So I'm optimistic and hopeful that we will get a good restart. It will be slow, but that's actually more due to Thai Airways and our internal challenges and so on, than it is due to lack of demand and lack of cooperation from our trade partners.
You mentioned that you had the Airbus 350 operating into Copenhagen. So I think one of the questions that everybody would like to know, so have a look in your magic ball and see, how do you think pricing to Asia is going to be affected when things are opening up again?
Well, that's also a very difficult question. First of all, if we look at Thai Airways, the capacity will be less than what it was. And if we look at the capacity in general, at least in the beginning, it will be less than what it was. But what about the demand? If there is no quarantine, how fast will it pick up? That also has an impact on the pricing. So far, and what we see is a small increase in pricing, not only to Thailand, but in general. And I think that would be more or less what we will see for at least the start of the beginning of the restart. I'm sure that we will see a movement at some point where, and I think you will still see promotions where you will be able to get really good fares also to Thailand. But overall, I think we can expect a small increase, but it will probably soon level out to more or less what we saw just before COVID-19.
I think we can only guess, all of us, what will happen. So it was just to get your input on how you see the market going. Before we say thank you, I just hope that Thai will be able to bounce back. At least you're flying into one of the most popular countries for all of Scandinavia, with about 2 to 3% of all Danes normally traveling to Thailand every year, all year summer. So at least for the leisure market, it's going to be quite easy. How do you foresee the corporate market? Are you having any predictions on the corporate market?
Well, that actually is also part of the restart for Thai Airways. Right now, the challenge for Thailand and the reopening is, of course, the restrictions applied, especially the quarantine. It's beginning to soften now. They will introduce 10 days quarantine from the 1st of April, unless you're arriving from a COVID-19 variant country, which luckily is not Denmark. So what we have been told so far is that for Danish arrivals from 1st of April will be 10 days quarantine. But as soon as these restrictions will be softened, and I hope that it will be slowly softened throughout the year, and maybe from the beginning of next year, it might be gone completely. There might be a vaccine passport or something similar, which is needed. But for Thai Airways, there is a recovery plan for until 2025 at the moment. And if we will succeed with this plan, we will have 75 to 80 destinations in 2025. In 2019, we had 83. So it's more or less a full recovery on the number of destinations. And we will have 86 aircrafts. We had 100 aircrafts in 2019. So the plan, and this, coming back to your question regarding corporate traffic, this plan is mostly based on leisure traffic, because as other airlines also realized, corporate traffic will probably be the last segment or the last group of customers returning to the good old days, if I may say that. And that could also be seen in our configuration of our aircrafts. As mentioned, we will have 86 aircrafts in 2025. That means we will have new airplanes coming. We actually already have new airplanes ready, and they will also be refitted in a different configuration than what we see today. So there will be a bigger focus on the leisure traveler and less focus on the corporate traveler. So I think we will, at least according to our plan, 2025, hopefully we will see a return of the corporate traffic to more or less 2019 level at that time. But who knows? We can only guess and predict. So, but that's what Thai Airways has in our restart plan.
I would like to thank you very much for this very elaborate story on how we are and how you are and what we can expect. It has been very interesting. And for those who are really eager to go to Thailand, as I understand it, if you're willing to go into quarantine for 10 days, as of next month, you will be able to fly non-stop out of Copenhagen. Thanks very much, Ulrik, for sharing all this information with us.
Thank you, Alan, and again, thank you for letting me come, and it's been a pleasure.
That was all from today's Monday morning update. We from the Travel Plus Loyalty podcast team wish you a very good day, and if you do travel, then we wish you a safe travel.